Many brands sell single barrels and batch versions of the exact same whiskey. And some people say that single barrels are the new allocated whiskey alternative. But are they really better than the shelf available version? If you want to find out, then stick around. All right, so before we get started, let's take a second to say thank you to the patrons.
Yes, thank you.
Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. We've got a lot of really great bonus opportunities. For those of you who are looking for a little bit more, we've got some in-person barrel picks where we're doing distillery takeovers. We've got in-person bottle shares, virtual bottle shares, bonus content behind the scenes, major discounts on merch. I've been seeing those discounts roll through, and that's real nice for the patrons.
Oh, yeah.
And for those of you who like challenge coins, we have a Patreon-only challenge coin that's coming out very soon.
For sure.
And, of course, there's the satisfaction in knowing that you support the channel and its mission. And so if you'd like more information, we'd love for you to help support us. You can check the link in the description.
And plus, the coolest thing about being a Patreon is you get access to Randy and I just to hang out anytime you want to. Yeah. I mean, look at Steven over here. One of our recent patrons, I guess they are called, lives close by. Just stopped in to watch the show and look at him. He's in front of the camera. So
that's right. It could happen to you.
It could happen to you. So go sign up.
Go sign up. Check it out. All right, let's talk about some disclaimers for this one.
Yeah.
So I have attempted to match proof. So what we're going to do is in front of us, blind poured, Lindsay poured it. We don't know what's in which glass. There are 5 2-flight rounds, okay? And what we're doing is we're comparing a single barrel version to a batched version. And I did my best to find the single barrels and the batch shelf product with the same proof. But since some of them are barrel proof, there are a couple of proof points difference, just because it just worked out that way. And also single barrels by their nature have massive variance. That's their purpose. So if you do the same test at home, you may come up with a different result because your store picks maybe were better or worse than the ones that we happen to have.
Yeah,
and there's also just our opinions that you have to take into consideration. Our palates are different than everybody else's. And so we're just using the resources that are available to us. So with all that being said, let's jump into it. So we've got 5 head-to-head rounds of blinds. This is what we would call a single blind. And for those of you that do scientific research studies, in tasting, single and double blind means something different. In a single blind, the tasters know what is within the realm of possibility of what could be in the glass, i.e. the bottles are in front of us. In a double blind, you don't even know what's in there. It could be tequila, it could be bourbon, it could be anything, right? And so this is a single blind. So we're going to see which percentage of the time the single barrel was preferred over the batch product.
Good deal.
So
and I'm glad you mentioned that it's not necessarily going to be a big proof difference, because that's always, for a guy like me who prefers a little bit
high proof. I always pick high proof.
I would pick the single barrels every time. But so this could be interesting here.
Yeah. And so we're going to taste it up, and then while we're tasting, I'm going to give you some little anecdotes about the different producers here, just to make it a little bit exciting.
Yeah.
So, Steven, you got any questions? You ready to rock and roll?
Let's go.
All right. So, I don't know how often you do this kind of thing, but you're going to be comparing these two, and you'll need some indication to figure out which one you preferred out of each one. And when you get done, then we'll go through all the results. Okay.
Yep.
So a little bit of a story. One of the spirits that we're trying is Kentucky Spirit, which is a wild turkey product. Single barrel 101 proof. And my story is that this single barrel that we're tasting, I picked with Eddie Russell.
Awesome.
And I also made a giant ass of myself.
Ooh. For the king.
Yeah. And so we're in this room tasting. There's about a dozen of us. And I am tasting this 4th bonus round that he brought out for us. And I detected a hint of banana, which is not typical for wild turkey product. And I said it to my friend, and he heard it. And he said, "Who tastes banana in my whiskey?" And I was like, "I do, sir." And he goes, Get this guy out of here. This is a Jack Daniels. And then one of my buddies
got burned by Eddie Russell.
Yeah, I got roasted.
Nice.
And one of my buddies went and did a single barrel with him at Wild Turkey shortly thereafter, and then went and played golf with him and brought it up at golf, and he remembered.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so now one of my heroes probably hates me.
Yeah,
but it's okay.
The mission.
Have you? You got yours ranked up?
Yep.
All right. I think it's time for the reveal. Pretty girl, do you want to help us put the bottles in order?
I knew I was a bigger Bourbon Real Talk fan than you.
How do you know that?
Well, because I don't just use a prideful goat, Glenn. I got an official Bourbon Real Talk tumbler.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I got this Bourbon Real Talk lanyard to carry my whiskey glass in.
Oh, well, speaking of whiskey glasses, do you have one of these?
No, I don't.
Rocks glass.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, official.
Well, I love my wife, and I bought her this official whiskey wife flask from Bourbon Real Talk.
Well, that's cute and everything, but I got my wife one of these.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well,
you can just add your own liquor, and it's an actual cocktail right there in a jar.
Me and my wife like to make cocktails, so we got this simple syrup off the website.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you and your wife have one of these? This is an official sticker. You can only get these on the website.
No, but I do have these official coasters that have the Bourbon Real Talk logo on them, and I'm representing.
Well, while you're representing those little coasters of yours, I've got an aroma kit.
Do you?
Yeah, so I can smell literally everything in bourbon. Everything.
Well, I don't have that, but I do have this sample box that I keep all my samples in because I'm part of the community and I share samples.
Yeah, but do you have Glen toppers that are officially Bourbon Real Talk?
I don't have that, but I do have this large whiskey carrying case for my glasses so that I don't break them.
See, I knew you had that. That's why I have the smaller version, okay? It packs more easily into your suitcase. Don't have to mess with that big old thing, okay?
Suitcase, that's for lamos. Check this thing out. I have a Bourbon Real Talk bottle carrying bag. You can't beat that.
I don't know if I can because...
And on top of that, I have a Bourbon Real Talk t-shirt. I'm the bigger fan.
Oh, I can beat that. Is it extra schmedium?
No, I don't have an extra medium.
Ha! Extra schmedium.
You might be the bigger fan. You win.
I knew it.
So whether you're a Bourbon Real Talk super fan or simply looking for quality whiskey swag, head over to bourbonrealtalk.com today.
All right.
Here we are. So y'all want to go over some little anecdotes about the bottle? So
Let's hear it.
in the first position on our left, your right, was Kentucky Spirit.
Yep.
And the second...
so this is a single barrel. Because these are...
Yes, yeah. But this one's a store pick.
A store pick single barrel.
Versus shelf available. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're both single barrels.
Well, I just want to clarify because I knew there was going to be some haters jump in the comments and be like, that's a single barrel already.
Yeah, you make a good point.
Yeah.
That is true. But so, one was store selected. Yes. That is totally fair.
That's for you.
That's for you, haters.
Whiskey
so now
troll.
you don't have to say anything.
Get out of here, go troll someone else.
Yeah, that'd be a good plan. Larceny.
Yes.
So the next one was Larceny.
Mm-hmm.
So it's named after a Prohibition era revenue agent named Johnny Fitzgerald, and legend has it that he was a raging alcoholic, and he was supposed to make sure that none of the whiskey had been tampered with. So he had the keys. He unlocked the distillery at the beginning of the day, locked it at the end, and he could taste out of any barrel anytime he wanted, just to make sure it hadn't been tampered with. And because he was an alcoholic, supposedly he kept going back to the honey barrels, and the staff started following him around to figure out where the good whiskey was.
Yeah.
Because he tasted everything. So, and that is the impetus for the bottle that I have for my son.
Yep.
Which is called Johnny Fitzgerald, and it's hidden up there in the back, but I'm keeping it for him for when
behind a key.
Behind a key, yeah. So for a long time, Elijah Craig would not let you do a barrel proof option. So the normal Elijah Craig is a 94 proof, and so they had the ECBP that was a batch product that would come out. And I met Mr. Bernie Lubbers, who is the international brand rep for all of Heaven Hills bourbons, and he's the whiskey professor, and he's really known for promoting Bottle and Bond. And I begged him, and he said that he would run it up the flagpole. I don't doubt that hundreds, if not thousands of other people ask him to do the same thing, but now we do have Elijah Craig barrel proof single barrels.
Well,
so
you can take credit for that.
I'm gonna.
Thanks to you.
It's Shake and Bake, and I helped.
Yes.
So, and then the fourth one, which is Rossville Union. It's the house brand for MGPI, now called Ross and Squibb. And it is a blend of their 51% Kentucky style rye and their 95% Maryland style rye. And this single barrel, it's either going to be one or the other. And so this was maybe not the best comparison because it's not the exact same mash build that's in both. But, it is what it is. And then last, but certainly not least, the Prideful Goat, which is my brand. And our rye is 6-year MGP rye. But all of the batches are all 95% rye from MGP.
Sweet. And
they did age in Texas for a good bit, which helps contribute to the flavor difference between these two bottles because, it's the same whiskey in both bottles, but they do taste different. And so, that's pretty much it. So let's talk about the rankings.
Let's do it.
So for the Kentucky Spirit, the one on the left was the single barrel. The one on the right, from our direction, and it's reversed for you, is the regular shelf available single barrel product.
Mm-hmm.
Which one did you prefer?
I prefer the regular off the shelf single barrel.
Okay, so the one that's closer to you, or
I did that backwards.
Okay,
I preferred the store pick.
You preferred the store pick. I preferred the regular shelf available.
I actually preferred the shelf available as well.
Okay.
I thought that was, I don't know, it almost came across as a higher proof. I don't know what the proof points are.
They're both 101.
Yeah, but I don't know, it just came through a little bit more bold in flavor to me.
Yeah, there was like a little sweetness for me on there that balanced it out a little bit more. But I mean, that's kind of the interesting point about single barrels. Okay, and for the second round, which was larceny, the batch product was on the left. The single barrel was on the right. It looks like you preferred the single barrel.
I did. I preferred the single barrel.
And for you,
the regular off the shelf.
You preferred the regular off the shelf. I preferred. Now I'm getting confused about. Oh, okay. Yeah, I preferred the regular off the shelf.
Yeah.
So in this instance, we have 2 for the batch and 1 for the single barrel.
Oh, I see now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The third round was the Elijah Craig barrel proof. I preferred the single barrel.
I did too. Yeah.
Single barrel. And you preferred the single barrel?
Yep.
Okay. The single barrel's on the left. So you preferred the batch.
I prefer the batch.
Okay. So
I'm getting confused with your two glasses.
Okay.
Yeah. Me too.
It's we
keep your glasses away from me.
Keep your glasses here.
There we go. Perfect.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, I prefer the store pick.
You preferred
the regular batch product.
The batch product. Okay. Yeah. And so in round number 3, we have 2 for the single barrel and 1 for the batch. Round number 4, Rossville. In this case, the batch product was on the left. The single barrel was on the right. And I preferred the single barrel.
I did too, but I'll be honest, I didn't really prefer either one of them.
Okay, that wasn't for your palate.
That's not for my palate.
He's not a rye guy.
Not a big rye guy.
Yeah.
Or a Ross guy.
Yeah.
Geller,
yeah.
He actually, Friends is pretty good, but I would say that the store pick had a slight edge to me.
And how about you?
I was with Wes. I didn't really care for either one, but the single barrel was my pick. Just slightly.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so that's 3 for the single barrel. And on that one, the reason why I picked it is the batch product had much more of a dill pickle note to it, and the single barrel didn't have as much of that, and it was a little more balanced for me. And then for the last round, my brand, the Prideful Goat.
They're both awful.
Yeah, undrinkable. Just kidding. So I actually preferred the batch product over the single barrel?
I preferred the single barrel.
Okay.
Apparently, that's the
So
one
you were,
up front.
and you were batch.
I was also with the batch.
So that's 2 for batch and 1 for single barrel.
Cool.
So how many tick marks total do we have for batch?
6.
How many do we have for single barrel? 9.
Hmm.
So the single barrel edged out. But
Yeah.
even with my own product,
Mm-hmm.
which, the Prideful Goat, and keep in mind, all of the barrels that went into the single barrel program, I tasted them.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we can start to realize about the single barrel program is that barrels that get put in the single barrel program have unique character. It doesn't necessarily mean that they taste better. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And as a brand owner, when you find those unique barrels, you're like, do I throw this in a batch and let it get averaged out with all the other barrels? Or do I keep this separate so that people can taste a different expression of my whiskey? And when I was going through with the team and we're picking barrels that are going to go in the single barrel program, there were 2 categories that we would put in. And one was it tasted like the average barrel just plussed up.
Mm.
It was just better. And the other thing that we'd put in is if there was just a unique characteristic to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't necessarily mean that it tasted better than the average. It was just unique.
Yeah.
And so what that does is it kind of takes out the extremes and it makes your average barrel that stays in goes into batches, and it helps your batch product be more consistent.
Sure.
Because you don't have these outlier barrels that are, potentially going to change the flavor.
And that's what most of the public enjoys anyways, is those standard batch products.
Right. And you want them to be consistent. When they buy that bottle, you want them to know for sure, like, that I've had this before and I'm going to like it.
Yep.
But this also means that, like, if you're participating in a single barrel program, there's no such thing as reject barrels.
Mm-hmm.
So do you remember when we were on the Jack Daniel's barrel pick and we were there with Lexi, who I adore, and she's in charge of the barrel proof single barrel program, and they roll out 3 barrels. And somebody notices that the bungs of some of the barrels had already been drilled,
Mm-hmm.
and one hadn't. And so they go, oh, this must be a reject barrel because these had been, the bungs had pulled and you pulled samples and reused the bung.
Right.
But this bung must have broke. And so it's got a brand new undrilled bung.
Yep.
And there's no way this could be in the barrel program unless the bung's been pulled before. And so this had to have been part of another barrel pick. And the guy said, this one must be a reject barrel. And he said it to the rest of the tasters in front of the woman whose job it is to coordinate that program. And for the first time, because I had just picked the single barrels for the Prideful Goat, I was like, ooh, that stings a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you have to understand that single barrels, there's really no such thing as a reject barrel, right? Like they select them and make sure that they're not bad, right? They're just unique or, plussed up in some way. So when a tasting panel picks a barrel, there'll be some differences between the barrels, and this is normal. That's kind of the point of a single barrel. But everybody's palate's different, and so you could give the same single barrel lineup to a different group of tasters, and they're going to pick something different. But it's okay also to like the batch product. It's supposed to be consistent.
Sure.
It's supposed to taste good. But it doesn't mean the single barrel's bad. It doesn't mean that it's better. It's just about palates. And, you're just trying to try different single barrels to get a different experience. That's why I like them.
Yeah.
Right.
And to that point, Randy, the fact is that most store picks, club picks, or even single barrels that come into a store are coming from a group of individuals who are on that tasting panel who, for whatever reason, on that day preferred that barrel over the other options that they had.
Right.
So it is just personal preference, personal palate. So don't be scared to pick up a single barrel because you've tried one before and you didn't like it. It might be worth a retry.
Yeah, and I feel like you can even develop an understanding of the tasting team. So if a liquor store consistently releases single barrels that you don't prefer, maybe your palate just doesn't agree with their tasting team.
Sure.
Or if a whiskey club, consistently releases things that you do like. Hey, good chance I'm going to like the future things that they pick. And that'll help you be a little bit more wise with spending your dollars. So,
Sure.
Well, if this is your first time tuning in, I'd love to thank you for the view and tell you a little bit about the philosophy of our channel. We are all about bringing people together around bourbon. And that's a personal mission of mine to increase connectedness and community, because I lost my brother to suicide in 2014. And in the aftermath and trying to figure out, what went wrong and what happened, I started to realize after talking with many of his close friends that my brother had become more and more disconnected from the world around him, and that he may not have felt like he was needed or had a place. And I wanted to find ways to increase that connection, and I started seeing how whiskey was bringing people together, even people who would otherwise maybe not have been close. And that's part of the reason why I started the podcast, is that I figure if I can get you connected to whiskey will do the rest of the job and get you connected to others. And it's also why we started Bourbon Real Talk Community, because that's a forum where people can interact with one another of all different levels, of all different walks of life. And it's all positive interaction, no drama. And we became aware that we needed to create that kind of forum, because as you get involved in the enthusiast community, you will see a lot of negativity in other groups. And we call those people creating that negativity whiskey trolls. And they are, mostly keyboard warriors, but they say a lot of hateful things to strangers online. And that made it obvious that we needed Bourbon Real Talk Community, but it also revealed something to me. And that is that if that person can hate you online, there's nothing that prevents me from loving you online, even though we don't really personally know each other. And that is why I end every show the same way, and that's this. If you woke up this morning and you were unsure whether or not anyone loved you, just know that we love you. And we'll see you next time on Bourbon Real Talk.
Works. You got to dance, Steven.
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
that's when the music plays. If you watch I say the thing and then
we dance.
and then he's not in it, but he's getting it.
He's getting it. Yeah, he is. All right, cool.
Here we go. All right, we got bloopers.
We are in the
blooper realm.
Yes, we are. I can tell the difference in some of these Glens. Some of them are fatter.
The other day I was trying to blind, and one of them had a real thick glass rim. And when I touched it to my lips, I could feel it, and I was like, well, now I can't blind myself.
Yeah, because these are real thick, and these are thin. I like them.
I like them thick.
I like them thick.
Thick.
I like them real thick.
Real
Like
thick.
with the 2 C's on it.
Oh, sometimes more.
3 C's? Wow. That thick?
Lindsay's giving me the evil eye. A whiskey troll is a person who seeks negative attention and uses contrarian attitudes to derail civil discussion in online forums. They communicate in ways they never would face-to-face because they're keyboard warriors. Their only goal is to make other people feel inferior.
Hey guys, I'm new here. I just got my first Blanton's.
And trust me, you probably paid way too much.
I don't care much about the Blantons, but nice.
There's no way that she didn't buy that at secondary. Idiot.
Oh, I know how you got that bottle.
So, are you sick and tired of the whiskey trolls running your fun online? Well, that's why we started Bourbon Real Talk Community. Congratulations. Let me know what you think when you open it up.
Hey, welcome to the group. Let me send you over a sample of Blanton's Gold and Straight from the Barrel. See how you like those.
I remember back to my first bottle of Blanton's. It was the birthday to my son, and we enjoy it every year on his birthday. Congrats.
So if you're looking to connect with some people online who aren't, head over to facebook.com and join Bourbon Real Talk Community today.